This is the Ineos Quartermaster Ute, a dual cab purpose-built 4x4 vehicle that is designed to do things differently compared to some of the other utes that you might consider for similar money. Now, money is a factor with this vehicle. We'll get to that shortly, but I'll also tell you some great competitors that you might want to consider and what's great about this vehicle, what could be better. So stick around if you haven't already. Please like, subscribe and ring that bell. Let's check out the Quartermaster, hey? There are a couple of different versions of the Ineos Quartermaster available in Australia, starting at a pretty decent price. It might seem expensive on paper, but you'll see the entry price on your screen now with petrol or diesel available. And look, it does seem maybe a little bit bare bones for that kind of cash, but you can customize this vehicle to a greater extent than you can most other utes in this segment, straight from the factory floor. And in fact, Ineos says that of their bank of 250 odd orders, no two vehicles are the same. So that's pretty amazing in terms of the spec. Now, I reckon that it looks really good in the base grade. And if you want a bit more bling, well, you could go for the Fieldmaster model. You'll see the pricing for the petrol and diesel versions of it on your screen now. It gets features like the Safari pop-up windows in the roof. There's also 18-inch alloy wheels, and it also comes with a set of carpet floor mats, heated front seats, and a premium sound system as well. Now, I reckon that it does seem to be pretty good value compared to, say, a Ram 1500 or one of those big trucks, but you might be surprised about how it stacks up against some of the other alternatives, which I'm going to tell you about now. Now, if you're thinking about a purpose-built 4x4 vehicle like this that's made for the rough stuff and designed to be durable, well, obviously you're probably thinking about the Toyota Land Cruiser 70 series. It is available in a few different trim lines. There's a 4-cylinder turbo diesel with an automatic transmission, or a V8, which is on its way out. So if you're lucky enough to get one of those, then good for you. But it is also very rudimentary when it comes to the standard specification and equipment on offer, and it certainly makes this look light years ahead in terms of the spec and tech. Another option you might want to consider if you're into hardcore 4x4 driving and you need a ute, well, go and have a look at the Jeep Gladiator. It is fantastic off-road, and it comes with a 3.6 litre petrol V6, but it does have some limitations compared to the 70 series and this in terms of towing capacity and also a lower payload as well. So it might be a better adventure vehicle, but maybe not necessarily a better pickup truck or dual cab ute. And finally, well, there's plenty of options in the mid-size ute category that you might want to consider. A turbo petrol model you might want to look at is the Volkswagen Amarok Aventura. It is a fantastically fun ute to drive, and it looks pretty good too, but it's maybe a little bit more of a city-focused truck. But then there's also the likes of the Ford Ranger Raptor, which also has a fantastic turbo petrol engine, and it's purpose-built for doing lots of silly things off-road, and it's excellent as well. Or you could just choose a V6 diesel version of the Ranger and you'd be very happy, I think, or a V6 Amarok for that matter. So which would you pick? Any of those or something different? All right, let's size up the Ineos Grenadier Quartermaster Ute. It is a big thing. It is about 5.4 meters in length on a 3.2 meter wheelbase, and it's more than 2 meters tall as well, so it's not going to be car park friendly, and it's more than 2.1 meters wide. So yes, it is huge. It has plenty of ground clearance. 264 millimeters is the number that Ineos quotes, and it also has really good approach, departure and breakover angles, which you'll see on your screen now. Now, the vehicle is also capable of 800 mil wading, if that matters to you. We've gone through some watery stuff today, but haven't necessarily tested it to that limit. But tell me what you think about the look of it. Are you sold on this? I'm seeing, well, honestly, a little bit of Mahindra in the back of it. It does have that sort of strange rear design, which maybe isn't to my tastes, but the cab chassis looks really, really good. And you can get it with a Norweld tray with $7,000 of contribution to getting a Norweld tray as well. Now let's have a look in the tray and see what we are dealing with. So yes, it does have a pretty decent amount of space in the back. Obviously, it is limited by the fact that you've got the spare in the tray itself, and there's room for another one if you need it, or you can put it on the roof rack because there's an option to do that as well. It does have quite a lot of space in the tub. You can see the dimensions on your screen now, and rather than having tie to the side points, it has actual tie down points, which might be really handy for those who need to secure their load. So I reckon that it does have a pretty good amount of usability to it, and there's plenty of accessories if you want to fit a canopy, or you can even get it with a canvas cover for the back as well. Also, I will call out that it does have a pretty easy to close tailgate, and it is lockable, which is good to see. And if you're wondering about payload capacity, I'll put some figures on your screen now. There is a bit of a difference between the diesel and the petrol models. And yes, both can do the maximum brake towing capacity of 3.5 tons. And it's also got a gross combination mass of 7,000 kilos. So yes, you can load it up and you can tow, and you won't be going over any limits. This is a very different cabin to what we've become used to in 2024 and beyond, and I bloody love it for that. Let me tell you, I am a very big fan of all these manual controls that are very tactile and very usable. Just have a look at those dials and buttons. Your volume controller is down there for the stereo. You've got your climate control area up here. You've also got seat heating buttons as well. And there's plenty of other easy to switch features there. So if you don't want the start stop on, it's that button there. If you want to turn off your parking sensors while you're off-roading, there's that button there. You've got the very, very BMW shifter here for the 8-speed automatic transmission, which is the opposite of this very manual low range, high range shifter, which you have to lift this sleeve up for to shift. And it does have a beautiful mechanical manual action to it. And there's also a rotary dial controller down here for the media screen as well. So it is a pretty modern media screen. It does have a heap of different features and menus that are available to you, including the off-road screen, which just takes a second or two to load, but it does offer you a heap of really fantastic information for when you are adventuring in the rough stuff and you just want to get a glimpse of what's going on with your off-road elements that you need to consider. Having tire pressure and also the temperatures on screen is so handy, and it's just a really, really clever piece of technology that's integrated into this vehicle. Yeah, it's got Apple CarPlay if you want it as well, and you've got your speedo here, which isn't there. So that might be something that some people dislike, but you do get a pretty decent, easy to see cluster of gauges there, so you can see for yourself what's going on with the vehicle. And down here, you've got a pair of cup holders in this section. There's a decent sized cubby with some storage, and there's also a grab handle in front of the passenger, which is handy. There's a decent sized glove box, which has an actual physical book for your owner's manual, which is really quite cool. There's bottle holders in the doors, and it's a pretty great place to be. Oh, actually, we haven't even got to the good bit yet. Well, one bad bit maybe is that you don't get an auto dimming rear vision mirror, and you don't get mirrors on the sun visors, but you do get these safari windows or safari roof finishes. So you can open up this section here if you want to and just let a little bit of air in or light in or whatever you want. And then there's this panel of buttons above the driver area, and it's like if you're a pilot or you wanted to be a pilot when you were little, this will make you so happy. Just look at all these controls. You've got off-road modes, you've got waiting, you've got front and rear diff locks, you've also got lighting, you've also got assistance in terms of the safety stuff, and you've got a bank of auxiliaries up here as well. That is so cool, and it's so functional and so friendly, and you're gonna love it if you like that sort of thing and you don't like mucking around with screens all the time, and I'm sort of that guy. So I want to talk about a couple of controls down here. Yes, it's a relatively conventional looking 2-spoke steering wheel until you see this here. That is your toot button for cyclists. Listen to this. It's a very low volume toot. Compare that to this. Yep, it's bloody loud, the regular horn. The toot is lovely. You've also got cruise controls on this side, and you've got some volume controls there as well. Your wipers are on the right, your blinkers and lights are on the left, and I reckon that you will get used to the layout of this cabin very, very quickly. I have become accustomed to it today, and I really really like it, much more than I thought I would. Let's also talk about the seats. Yes, these are Recaro leather seats. They are fully manually adjustable with heating, and they are super comfortable, especially on rough road surfaces like I've been driving on today. I've been really impressed with the level of comfort. It's about 7 or 8 hours we've been in the cars today, and my bum doesn't even hurt. All right, let's check out the back seat space. Well, this might be the deal breaker point for this vehicle, because this is not a spacious second row experience. This seat is set for me at 182 centimeters or 6 foot tall. My knees are hard up against the seat ahead. I've got just a little bit of foot wiggle room, but not much. And 3 across will be very uncomfortable in terms of whoever's in the middle, because unless they don't have legs, it might be an unpleasant experience. In terms of the headroom in here, it is actually pretty good. There's plenty of head space, so if you are short of leg and long of torso, you might be okay, but that's not me. So yeah, it's not ideal, I have to say. And in terms of the width across the cabin, you can fit 3 people across the back, but like I said, legs might be the issue. You've got ISOFIX points in the window seats, and also 3 top tethers, which I'll show you a shot of now. Yes, they are a bit strange, the top tethers, because they actually attach to the back of the seat rather than to the body of the vehicle, but I guess there's a reason for that. And I think that it is going to be usable for some parents and some people. And look, about the amenities back here, you do have a pair of directional air vents. There's some USB ports down there as well. You've got bottle holders in the doors down there. Sorry, it's a bit dark, but yeah, it's going to be okay, but it's not going to be the most room you can get in a dual cab ute today, that's for sure. Yes, powered by BMW. That is right. There is a choice of 2 BMW-sourced 6-cylinder inline diesel and petrol engines. So the diesel is the B57, which has 183 kilowatts and 550 newton meters of torque. It is a twin turbo unit, and it is very, very capable. And then there's the 3-litre turbo petrol 6-cylinder, which is a single turbo version, 210 kilowatts, 450 newton meters, which is less than what you'll see in some BMW applications, but it has been detuned to be maybe a little bit more reliable. And hey, it's also got an 8-speed automatic transmission from ZF. It has full-time 4-wheel drive with a low-range transfer case. We'll get to that later on. All right, so I've been driving for about 45 minutes in the Quartermaster on road, and I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with the way that it behaves itself, particularly the ride. It does have coil springs at the back, and it is rather comfortable compared to some of the leaf spring rivals that you might otherwise consider. It does have a nice cushy ride, which is actually quite nice. It doesn't have anything in the back, so no payload, but yeah, it's just 2 of us on board and some luggage, a little bit here and there, and it's fine in terms of the ride comfort, and it feels quite large and settled on the road as well. It does have a pretty long wheelbase, obviously, so that's not surprising. You will need to keep in mind it does have a big turning circle, and speaking of turning, the steering is not my favorite thing. It's a recirculating ball steering system, and so it's a bit hard to judge what's going to happen next. It doesn't necessarily have the most fluid motion to the steering, so you might feel like you're correcting or over-correcting a little bit too much at times, but you do settle into the drive experience pretty well. And I think also this engine in particular that I'm experiencing right now, the diesel version, is very, very good for this application. There's plenty of torque. It's very smooth and refined and quiet as well. This car does have a bit of wind noise intrusion. It's got quite a bluff window, and this one has a snorkel as well, but it's not loud in here, which is really quite surprising. I think maybe the brakes are just a little bit soft feeling underfoot, but I'm sure they'll be more reassuring when we get to the off-road stuff shortly. So on the whole, in terms of the on-road drive experience, I am impressed. It is very, very good, much more amenable, much more likable than, say, a dual cab 70 series or something like that, but yeah, maybe not as cushy as a Ranger Raptor, but definitely comparable to the large American trucks that it sort of competes with on price. But hey, that's on road. Let's go off road and see what it's like. So off the sealed stuff, on our way to the Flinders Ranges, and we'll pound for this launch drive. And while that terrain was probably going to be suited to most dual cab utes, I've driven these trails before and never felt quite as comfortable or as confident as I did in the Quartermaster. It has a great manner to it on rough tracks and corrugated surfaces, especially at higher speeds, so much so that you'd probably never guess it was a beam axle setup front and rear. It really is very manageable, and in looser surface situations, so is the steering. The push and pull feeling of that recirculating ball system is definitely more suited to the loose stuff, but just be mindful of this ute's massive turning circle, which is 14.5 meters, and that can make it harder to pivot in tighter, twistier sections. We did some loose sand driving in low range in the Quartermaster. Now, in most utes I've driven on sand, I've been in high range to make sure that the revs stay up high and so your momentum continues. But in this instance, we used third gear and the diesel engine offered ample torque to continue progress without getting stuck. And that's the name of the game in sand, isn't it? Out of the dunes and into Brackena Gorge, where there was still some water around after a recent storm. And look, it wasn't enough to trouble the wading depth of this vehicle, but it was very comfortable over rocky sections and it remained really quite controlled and comfortable. And even after hours of driving, there wasn't a sore back or bum cheek to speak of from all the guys who were driving on this launch. The next day, I wanted to try my hand at locking the rear diff, tackling this mega steep hill back in Whyalla, but it wasn't to be. So I was about to climb a very, very steep hill in a Grenadier, but unfortunately, there's a problem. This amazing low range selector won't actually select, so it's stuck. The collar seems to be broken and it will not go into low range. Not ideal, hey? This is the hill for reference. Even so, others managed to get up and over this massive, torturous climb, which had some seriously loose sections and looked pretty sketchy at times for some of the people going up. But I missed that chance, unfortunately. Now, if you subscribe, I'll see if I can get this ute back to maybe get into some more difficult off-road scenarios. And in the future, I also plan to do a towing test. And I know there's plenty of people out there who would like to see what this vehicle is like with 3 tons plus of caravan behind it. I can't wait to find out either. So please like, subscribe and ring that bell and you'll be notified when I do that review. Over hundreds of kilometres of on and off-road touring, as well as some more serious 4x4 action, I was really impressed with the fuel numbers I saw during this launch drive. The official figure for the petrol model is a bit higher at 12.6 litres per 100 Ks. That's unsurprising, but it also needs premium unleaded petrol as well, so keep that in mind. The diesel's official number is 10.5 litres per 100, which you will probably see close to in open road driving. On this drive, I saw a displayed return of 12.6 litres per 100 for the diesel model, which, given the workload, really impressed me. Both models have a 90 litre fuel tank, but there should be an option for a long-range tank soon as well. The diesel model has AdBlue technology as well, so you need to keep that in mind. And both have engine start-stop tech, which is designed to save some fuel in some traffic situations. Okay, so when it comes to safety stuff, you need to know that there is no active safety technology fitted to this car and it doesn't have a crash rating. It is considered a commercial vehicle and I guess that's understandable, right? But I can understand if you don't want any active safety technology interrupting your on or off-road experience, this might be super duper appealing and there is a market for that in my opinion, but in other ways, it maybe doesn't stack up as well as it could because there's lots of other utes out there that cost less and have more when it comes to active safety technology, like a lot more because this has nothing. It's got standard cruise control. You get a reversing camera as standard and parking sensors as well. And there are 6 airbags, dual front side and full length curtain coverage. So you tell me in the comments, is that a deal breaker for you or would you be okay with it? I'd love to know. In Australia, Ineos offers a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty for this vehicle. There's also a 12-year anti-corrosion or anti-rust warranty, but make sure you read the terms and conditions of the warranty paperwork to ensure that that is upheld in your use case scenario. Now, there's also a Recommendation for servicing every 6 months if you are going to do lots and lots of off-road driving. If you're going to be more on-road biased, well, every 12 months should be fine according to the brand. And there's also available roadside assist. It's okay, I reckon. I have to admit, I was a little bit skeptical about how this could come together. BMW engines in a ladder frame chassis vehicle that's designed to tow and take a load and have 5 people on board. How? How could it work? Well, the answer is they just made it work. It is brilliant, this thing. It's fantastic to drive off-road, surprisingly good on-road, and very, very practical as well. And if you're considering a 70 series Land Cruiser, well, I think you should go and check one of these out because, wow, I've been blown away and I can understand why you might be as well. So if you haven't already, please like, subscribe and ring that bell and let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. My name's Matt. This channel's called The Right Car and I'll see ya when I see ya.